Attention, attention, mind-blowing news. The Destiny community is at odds again. They're fighting. Oh, wait, no, this is never the odds. What's going on, guys? Tallen here with 59 Direct. Join here with LittleBobby. We're going to talk about some stuff in the Destiny 2 community. And I know, shocker, we got some more drama with the Destiny 2 community. I swear, every other Tuesday, it's just going crazy. But before we get into anything real quick, if you enjoy this type of video and you love these discussions, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video. If you don't like the video, hit a dislike and let us know what we can do to improve our videos going forward. It always helps the channel out. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, quick disclaimer before we get into this video. 3 things we need to get across right now before we even talk about the stuff. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumb, you know what we're talking about. But again, we just want to make this clear because everyone, for the first time, this might be your first video. No matter what our personal opinions are, whether Bobby and I agree on things, disagree on things, we are not taking away any of the accomplishments for those who were able to beat or not beat the raid in the first 48 hours on contest mode. Second, these are our own personal thoughts and opinions. These are not meant to change your mind. We're just here to talk about the game that we personally love and how we feel about it, regardless, again, if we agree or disagree with how it went down. And third, regardless of what we say, this comes from a place of love, and we are not game developers. We are not trying to say, God, if we were in charge, we may do this and everything would be good. No, we are not saying that. We just simply want to discuss and talk about one of our games that we get to play a lot to this day and just where we think it is right now and how things have been going for the past few weeks and where things could go in the future potentially. So with all that being said, leave all your comments down below. Let's keep things civil. We're all adults here. Let's go ahead and get started. So Bobby, this was originally your topic for talking about difficulty in Destiny 2 / the raid, especially because of what just happened with the contest mode for the last 48 hours. I personally did not get to try this one particularly. I got to try Val last time. I don't know if you got to try Val at all last time, because it did get pushed to 48 hours. But just give me your personal thoughts on how you thought Ron went, which, for those who don't know, Ron is the abbreviation for the new raid. We can also call it Root if you want to. Doesn't matter to me personally. But what were your personal thoughts on the raid? Do you think it was a fun raid? Do you think the aesthetics were nice? The look of it, the flow of it, all that stuff. Just give me your first impressions, both in contest mode and then how you felt when you tried it on normal, because I know you jumped back in and played on normal before we did this recording.
Yeah, so the interesting thing to me about this raid is definitely the aesthetics. They are top tier. I love visually how this raid looks. And I did get a chance to do the contest mode. I finished it, just like I finished Vow and Deepstone, right? I did the last few, and I think I did Vogue too. I don't remember. Yeah, I think I did, because I remember we had to do that twice. But yeah, this was a simpler raid in terms of mechanics. And the thing that I really liked about this raid in terms of its gameplay was the fact that it was very much a action-oriented raid. Aside from the big stretches in the middle of every encounter where you have to just like go to the next encounter, they use that space really well, I thought. But it does take a long time to get in between every encounter. Personally, I really enjoyed the contest. I actually enjoyed this on normal as well because it is fairly simple. And I think this is going to be a great one for people like me who, you know, with my clan, we have a lot of members, and a lot of members don't get to do the day one, and they don't get to do the raid for a while. We barely scraped together a team to do the contest mode because one of our members, he just got overloaded with work the 2 weeks right when Lightfall came out. So he was doing the raid prep up until that morning. Like, I woke up early that morning to help him do a couple pinnacles so he could get to 1780. Right. For me, and for playing with like my friends in my clan, I enjoyed this a lot because I thought, hey, you know, we were able to get that contest clear, even though these guys, you know, a lot of them will drop off for a while and then come back when a new expansion comes out. They don't necessarily have all the meta weapons and all that. But at the end of the day, they were able to get the clear because we like ended up working out exactly what we could do to make it happen. And that's not something that happens on a lot of contests, but I definitely understand the hardcore, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. Hardcore players really want it to be more difficult, but I guess we'll talk about that in a minute.
I guess for anyone who doesn't know my background, I have been playing Destiny since D1. I played when D2 came out. I played the beta and everything for that as well. I actually did take quite a long break though between the release of D2 and then when it finally came to Steam on PC. I originally played it on PS4. I believe that was the console it came out on. I don't remember.
Yes, Destiny 2.
It's been all these years ago. So I did all of that. And then I really got back into the game around Deepstone, I would say. It's when Deepstone came out. So that was the Beyond Light DLC. I did not do the contest mode for Deep Zone Crypt just because, again, I still felt like a noob back at the time just because of work and everything like that. But the Deep Zone was the very first raid I ever did, so it was definitely a more mechanic heavy raid than I had heard about, which was fine. I didn't mind learning how to do mechanics and everything like that. And then VOG was obviously a lot easier if you had done Deep Stone, personally, in my opinion. And then the next one to come out was VOW, I believe, and then King's Fall. I did try VOW on contest mode, at least a few of the encounters. Didn't complete it just due to time zones suck. If you live in Japan, try to do a day one raid.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It just time zones suck.
It's
for
like
that
midnight for you, right?
Unless you're exactly, yeah. It's midnight, 1 a.m. when the raid starts, so you're already at a disadvantage as it is, which is why I personally love the whole 48-hour thing. I think that's an amazing change.
Yes.
And I'm glad Bungie did that. And then Ron, I did not get to try out for day one because, again, I actually have family coming to visit, so I've been trying to deal with that and just get a bunch of work done and everything. But I did get to stay up for a couple of hours to watch the beginning of the day one raid and the race and everything like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely shocked to wake up and be like, okay, let's see where everybody is, and come to find out that literally half an hour later, when I went to bed, it was done already. Like, we had our worlds first, and I was just like, wait, what? It's done?
Yeah, it was done really fast.
I was shocked at that. Now I have completed Ron twice so far on normal difficulty, so I know it's not the same as contest mode. I'll talk about aesthetics first. I love anything dealing with the darkness and the pyramids and everything like that. I always thought was cool. VOW is definitely one of my favorite raids. I know it's a little slow in the beginning, especially getting up to the pyramid, and that first encounter is not exactly everyone's favorite. 100% understand that. But the aesthetics and the look, and like when you first see the worm god, holding up that pyramid shard from a distance, like that's awesome to see, in my personal opinion. And to this day, in terms of a final boss, Rolk is my favorite boss. I don't care what anyone says. Rolk was a good balance between still being able to use meta things like well and rockets and everything, where you could stand there and tank hits if you wanted to, but he moved around at least, so you had to somewhat move around, or it allowed for different play styles where maybe you had players who preferred be sitting in a well and doing damage to him, or people who like to move around, your hunters and everything, and shadow shot and everything like that. Definitely one of the reasons he is my favorite raid boss to this day. So playing Ron and being back into a pyramid was really cool, but with a mixture of the terraforming from the Traveler's Beam, which I guess, can we say spoilers? Because what story was there in Lightfall? Jokes. Well, we talk about that in our review. Check it out if you haven't seen it already. But, the light beam, essentially, that I'll call it, from the Traveler is what kind of terraformed Rolk's pyramid ship, essentially, right? Or not Rolk, the Witnesses, his ship and everything like that. So it was really cool to see as we progressed through the raid how it changed, right? Because that was the whole point. Nezarec was starting to come back to life and everything like that. And so we got to see the ship itself change, because like when you start the raid, you see the first encounter is where Nezarec is. Right, he's there in his little crystal, and then at the end you get back to this literally the same location, but it is completely changed. You're like, what? Like, wow! It looked really nice. So, art team, if I could give you a triple A plus 150% on your quiz / tests, I would give it to you. I seriously would. It was absolutely amazing. In terms of the difficulty, though. I know everyone has their own personal opinions on difficulty, and you're never going to be able to please everybody. Absolutely 100% understand that. I understand why the hardcore community wanted it to be harder, and I actually somewhat agree with them, which is going to be different from Bobby, which is totally fine, guys. Again, we're adults here. We're allowed to have our own personal opinions, but we have a civil conversation about this.
Yeah.
On one hand, I get it, not wanting things to be too difficult where you gate it so hard that nobody can jump in, right? Because Bungie's going to look at this and see nothing but positives, because 45,000 teams, or players or teams, one of the two, completed this raid on contest mode. Yeah. That means more people jumping into the game, more people potentially buying skins, Eververse store, the DLC, you name it. That is all positive in their mind for a business and everything like that. On the other hand, though, I feel Ron went a little too far into the literally press W key for this raid, because again, whether you like mechanics or not, I think there needs to be a good balance of mechanics. Some raids take it too far, some raids don't do it enough, because again, we are so powerful as guardians, right? So the mechanics are there to kind of slow us down a bit, right? Because otherwise we'd all pop out a rocket launcher and just shoot Bosso until he's done, right? That's the whole point of mechanics, right?
Yep.
But I think they went a little too far in terms of how easy it is. I mean, when you see people using Rat King in contest mode to defeat Nezarec, the final boss, maybe some things were needed to be looked at again, right? And coming from both Bobby and I, who are in our 30s and we have full-time jobs and we can't game 24/7, right? We're not coming at you guys as, you know, streamers who are doing this full-time and everything. Not to knock any streamers who do streaming full-time. That's our hope, that eventually we can do content creation or videos and things like that full-time. But we have full-time jobs and everything, so we can't just be like, oh yeah, I can raid whenever we want, you know, I want, or anything like that. I get that. You don't want to make it so that, you know, a raid takes 3 to 4 hours. But Deepstone Crypt, King's Fall, Vogue, and Vow, all of them, after you start to learn the mechanics, the first time I did all of those raids, it took me maybe an hour and a half at most, I would say. Now we can get most raids done in less than an hour, no problem, which I know to some can still be a lot of time, especially if you have a family, again, full-time job, that type of stuff. But it's not, it almost feels like Bungie was scared to give any amount of challenge in this, because, at least in my personal opinion. Again, I could be completely wrong. And again, they're going to look at these numbers and be like, oh yeah, positives all around, player count, the whole 9 yards. I get that. But the player base is not stupid. It's okay to give some challenge. And this isn't just Destiny, by the way. I feel like this is gaming in general, where it's like they went from a quote unquote hardcore stance on everything, right? Like gaming, because gaming is more popular than it ever used to be, right?
Yes.
And so they wanted to make it available to more players. Totally understandable, 100%. I'm not a hardcore gamer by any means, but there are some games that go way too far into the casual area, that just, whether it's taking out mechanics or taking out, you know, things in a game that you should just consider normal for them and everything like that, or like a lot of first-person shooters where they'll take out the death on your scoreboard. It's like, oh my god, you died, right? In a game where that happens, it's just like, why are you guys scared to take that out? So I'm getting off topic there, but regardless, I feel that Ron, I think, went a little too hard into easy mode, essentially. I mean, I did not feel any challenge. The only challenge, quote unquote, that I felt from that encounter was trying to get past the whole 60 FPS plus thing with the jumping mechanic with the launchers in the second encounter, which I still find completely stupid that they have not fixed that yet.
Yeah. Well,
that people can just tap their frames, and that's going to allow you to not only get through that particular puzzle, but tank damage as well.
Yeah,
like,
the thing about that is like,
I don't know.
Even in Nezarec, right? That to me, that was one of the biggest problems that they had. Holy was that, like, during Nezarec on the contest mode, a lot of us had to lower our frame rates because, like, the Colossus, that is still an issue where if you're over 60 FPS, you get shredded by the Colossus. Nezarec's attacks are also the type of attacks, I think it's AoE attacks, where they, depending on frame rate, they will do like double, triple, quadruple damage to you. So you'll just get one shot because you have 160 FPS because you have a decent computer, right? That was absolutely a huge problem. And that, believe it or not, that's what got a lot of us in our day ones, because we're, you know, we all have jobs, so we all have like super nice computers. So we were all dying a bunch to like Nezarec just one-shotting us because we're running 150, 160 FPS. And you die. And so like Nezarec took us forever because eventually we all just were like, okay, cap your frames. Like we have to, because otherwise we're just literally not able to stand up to anything.
And Destiny's not a new game. Like running Destiny at a good frame rate is not hard. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's just not. So, and the fact that that is still an issue too, and this isn't just Ron, by the way, the raid. This has been in the game for years. I'm pretty sure Deepstone still had it. If I remember correctly, maybe it was a little bit after
I think it was right after that where they found that it was an issue. So yeah, it probably did happen in there originally. But nowadays, you know, we're so over that level, it doesn't matter. You know, we have so many things like resilience that we didn't have back then.
Right.
So like that damage is scaled. Now the damage is scaled for resilience though, and now that it is like things like that Colossus beam will just destroy you no matter what.
Right, exactly, and to no fault of anyone's own, right? Regardless, because you're just like, oh yeah, like you don't even have to have a top of the line PC. You can have like a 3060 style graphics card that's just meant to hit 1080, 120 frames or something like that, right?
Yeah, if you're running a GTX 1080 still, you can crank 120 frames in 1080p in this game easy.
Yeah, when I still had a 1080, my 1080 is in my streaming computer now. When I had it in my gaming computer, I could hit 1080 like 144, no problem.
Yeah,
it was not hard at all, and that's not even at low settings. That's like mostly high with like anti-aliasing turned off. Because let's be honest, who uses that? Yeah. And it's just like, so if I can hit that with that, like anyone who has a better computer than that is gonna hit those frames, no question. So it's just, that definitely annoyed me personally.
But
so,
I like that you brought up like you saw this, you were kind of surprised about the day one clear being so fast, right? And see me like now.
Which, by the way, congrats to the team did it. I'm actually happy that a team that no one expected to win got the win.
Same.
I'm actually really happy about that. That's really cool to see.
I'd much rather have new teams get a win at some point,
Right, exactly. But 2.5 hours on the quote unquote hardest mode for the pinnacle of endgame, like.
It's funny that people,
that was just weird to see.
It's funny that people say that, right? Because this has been a thing in Destiny forever, right? Because think about Crota, right? Crota was the first time we had a power delta that we could not reach. And it was done for the same reason, to make it difficult to like do the damage you needed to do, right? Once we got past Crota and we passed him in level, it was just super easy. Right, it's just like contest and non-contest, but that was the whole raid. The whole raid was based on you're light, one light level under, and back then it was like light level 30 or whatever. But you'd be one level, back in the Destiny 1 days, you'd be like a light level 32, and Crota's raid was 33. So everything you were under leveled, and back then that one level was like a 15% difference in your output and the damage taken. So it was like it is today, right? With challenge mode. But the thing about it is, once we got past that, it was like, oh, Crota takes like 20 minutes now, right?
Right, and I think that's with any raid these days.
Yeah,
right? Like the moment contest mode leaves, people have figured it out how to do it. Then you start finding out, how to one phase them or two phase them, and regardless, right? Even VOW to this day, you can get through every encounter absolutely no problem.
Yeah, one of the things
with minimal efforts.
One of the things though that a lot of people are saying, it's like, oh, it's 2.5 hours. I go, Scourge was like 2 hours, if you remember that. I don't know if you were playing then during Forsaken, because I know you mentioned you play like kind of on PS4 and you kind of really got back into it, Shadowkeep. But in the year of Forsaken, when they released 3 full raids,
I did not. Yeah, so I was not around during that time, because that was when I was moving.
Okay. Yes.
And so couldn't really do anything during that time.
So back then, I think it was Gig's team. I think his team got world's first in that, and it was like an hour and 58 minutes or 2 hours and like 2 minutes, something ridiculous like that, right? And everyone right now is acting so upset and offended, like, oh, this is the biggest insult. Like, and I go, we've already had a raid in Destiny 2 that was cleared faster than that on day 1.
Right, and then wasn't the next raid Last Wish, which then 2 people cleared, or maybe that was like 2
that
raids
Last
after,
Wish was the raid before that, which only 2 teams cleared.
Right. Okay.
And that I will be on record. I know I've watched several videos, because we talk about Destiny all the time. We all watch Destiny content creators in 5.9, and at least the 5.9 direct team, you and me, and the 5.9 clan. We all share videos and we watch all the videos and talk about it. And I saw Dado's like elitist Dado last take, and he was like, that's what I want back. And I'm like, no, man. Like I get it. Like you want that prestige, right? You want it to be hard and you want it to be challenging. But Bungie has been very, very, very clear in the last like 2 to 3 years that they do not want this game to be hardcore, right? They did it with Forsaken. They did it with Forsaken. I mean, there's stuff in Forsaken. There's so much stuff in Forsaken. There's stuff that I still have not done, that I don't know about in the Dreaming City, even though I've played this game since it's gone to Steam for something like 4,000 hours, right?
Yep. Let the record show for the screenshots right now how many hours we both have into Destiny.
Yeah, I'll cap that and see if I can take a picture of that and put it. But I have something like 4,000 hours since it went to Steam. So I play about 1,000 hours a year, give or take. And I do take breaks nowadays. I used to not take breaks at all. I used to just play Destiny. That was my only game. But like last year, like the last season of the Seraph, I came back in the last like 3 weeks and got everything done. But before that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna like try out Genshin again. Oh, I'm gonna play through Dead Space Remake, which is awesome. Play that. But
Great game.
like Bungie has been very clear since Forsaken. They were like we know everybody loved it and everything, but it was too big. They can't do that again, right? Because they had 2 support studios that even with Sony now they don't have.
No, it's very clear they don't get like any support from Sony for Destiny.
Yeah,
because it's not benefiting Sony.
Yeah, Sony's like,
right?
hey, we're gonna give you some money and you can use that for Destiny, but you better give us something new that we can put out, right, and help us out with live service. Which cool, like that's fine. Like Bungie was doing fine before Sony bought them. They were holding up Destiny, right? But the thing is like Bungie has been very, very, very clear. They do not want this game to be hardcore. And what's really weird to me and bizarre to me is how many teams people like and I'm not trying to like pick on Datto, but like Datto or like what's his name, Salta Greppo, right? Or any of these other like really high-end PvE content creators who are like, this is so easy, it needs to be like 5,000 times harder because we only get one a year. And I go like, look, I had fun with my friends, we got it done. Yeah, we didn't have, like there's 3 guys on there who were, let's be realistic, they were underprepared because they either didn't have time when Lightfall dropped to get their light level up, or they're just guys who like they don't play it all the time, so they came back with the new expansion, played a bunch and did level up, but they didn't have old meta stuff that might have been useful. Like we'd go like, hey, do you have this? Like we asked someone like, hey, you got Loreley? Because you're dying a lot. Just put on Solar and Loreley. He's like, oh, I don't have that. I don't know what that is. And we were able to work it out. So it took us a while, but like when you can do that, I feel like it feels good. And we had a buddy who he helped us with the Deepstone Crypt Day one. We had 2 teams back then, and one team gave up, and one of ours had to leave that was on the team that I was on, and this guy came in, so he didn't get the emblem, back then.
Right, because he didn't. Yeah,
because he didn't do
all the encounters.
Yeah, he did
that part,
3 out of 4 of them, right? And so he finally got his day 1, and he was super stoked. And he was also the guy who had to work a bunch, so he had to do the catch up the morning of. So we were like super hyped to get him, his day 1 finally, right? And to me, like, and it's like you said, we don't want to take it from anybody who's done it. And I also don't want to put down like content creators, but the thing with it is that Bungie has been very, very clear for a very long time. Look,
well, I think players like Dotto, he understands, right? He's even stated before, he's like, I know Bungie has said this before. There are some though, I think, who either don't accept that for some reason.
Yeah.
My personal stance on is that like, so something like the 48 hours that they changed, because there's a huge uproar from a bunch of people when it got changed from 24 to 48 hours. First off, I think that's a great change.
Yes, that's right? Absolutely.
I've never been able to someone to stay up for more than I've never been able to do a full nighter. Like I will crash, even if I'm at 23 hours and I'm like, okay, if I sleep another hour, then I've done 24 hours. It's like, nope, I'm crashing. Just gonna do it. So that whole 48-hour change, absolutely love it, because in the end, it's for an emblem. It means jack shit.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen is in 5 years, Destiny 2 is gonna get shut down, and all of it's gone. And none of it matters, right? You have your jacket.
Exactly.
You have your jacket if you got a jacket, right? And you'll be able to say, in a game that's gone, I was like world's first in a raid that you will never be able to see or play. Like,
yep.
You know what I mean?
Like, so things like that, like where they make it a little bit more accessible to the average player in terms of the timing, right?
Yes.
To allow them to get their world's first. Absolutely love that. At the same time, though, I don't mind that first 48 hours being more challenging than it will be afterwards. I actually don't really have a problem with that, because again, like I said at the beginning when I was talking about my side of things, it's okay to have some challenge in a game.
Oh yeah.
I know wanting to make things more accessible, make things quote unquote easier, so that more players come in and play it, because that's what makes these companies money and everything. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to have some challenge, which is why I still stand firmly by saying that Ron went a little too far in the casual direction. I wasn't around during the Scourge raid or whatever, that one that was beaten like an hour. I wasn't around during that time. So this is like that raid for me now, where I'm here. And I see that and I'm like, hey, amazing job that 45,000 either teams or players got their world's first. Awesome, amazing job. but Bungie, maybe you went a little too far to the left on the difficulty scale, in my personal opinion. Again, looking back at the fact that during contest mode, we've already seen flawless happen, two-man teaming final bosses, you know, a single person doing encounters already. Like, again, I'm a player who likes things that are accessible, but there is some challenge to it. That's why I personally love the VOW raid, right? Because it's a combination of doing things like mechanics with combat, especially that third encounter. I used to hate that third encounter in VOW. Absolutely hate, because I played it on contest mode, and I was just like, I wanted to rip my hair out, or what's little left of it. And but now I'm just like, okay, you know what? Everyone shut up. Just know what your role is, and that's all you have to do now. So, and I know that people have come in and said, you know, now Ron is a great raid to teach new people, you know, into the raid mechanics. I want to say, yes, I understand 100%, but one thing I think that Witch Queen did absolutely well, and to an extent, I believe it was season 19 for the seasonal, it wasn't the seasonal activity, but it was that raid exotic, or the exotic quest that we got during season 19, where they had those events that taught you the basics of raiding, right? Season 19 had the quest that had scanner, operator, and suppressor in it, just like Deepstone Crypt does.
Yes.
And then the VOW having that level that introduced you to the intro of the raid, right? Showing you how to get the little car thing moving to the pyramid, opening it up, and then starting to show you the symbols and everything. It wasn't exactly like the first encounter in the raid, but it started to show you that stuff. Why did we not have something like that for Ron? Why is that not the norm? To teach players and new players how to do the raid. And this is also a little bit on Bungie right here, where, because doing both of those activities I just talked about, they don't actually tell you this is the introduction to the raid. It just turns into a quest. That's all it is. If Bungie literally took 5 seconds to just put some big text or something to show up on the screen to say, hey, you just completed this. Do you want to try the raid out? This is how it's going to go. This is the beginning of it. These are the mechanics you're going to need to know. Go ahead and try it. And I know they're also probably waiting for their in-game LFG thing to work. And I know it can be a very hard and intimidating sometimes, because just of how some players can be sometimes when it comes to getting into a raid group and everything. Which, by the way, if you want to join the 5-9 clan, we got tons of spots open.
Yeah, do it.
Plug.
And if it's full, we'll make another one.
Exactly. We run raids every week, dungeons, you name it. But anyway, getting back on track though, I don't know why that's not the norm, to have just a quest like that to show you the mechanics and show newer players and everything. Because, you know, longtime players are gonna be like, oh hey, I recognize this stuff. This is stuff from, you know, the raid and everything like that. And new players are gonna be like, okay, I finally figured this out, or, you know, they get some help from a friend or something like that, and they're like, oh, by the way, we use this in the raid. Come raid with us now. Yeah, essentially, right?
That was one thing they did really well in Taken King, and I want to say they did it in Forsaken a little bit, right? Where they kind of gave you a heads up on the raid account through like the story mechanics that would show up.
Right. Yes.
But that's like been really the only times that they've done that, which is really strange.
Right. It's really weird, because like why didn't that season 19 thing that I just mentioned, why wasn't that back in Beyond Light?
Well, because I think that what they're realizing, and here's actually one thought I just had while you were talking about the LFG and all that, right? Is right now, right in season 19 they had that thing, and they've taken it out, and they said they're gonna bring like the exotic missions and stuff back like on a weekly rotator, which I think is awesome, because I like, give me the whisper mission again, please, Bungie. But like the exotic mission, right? They did that because the Deepstone Crypt was the reprised raid, right? Or was the one that was updated with
they brought the red border. It was the red borders, yeah.
Right. So they're giving you a reason to play it. So they're like, well, people are going to play this because they can craft it. So like, let's give the newer players like a tutorial a little bit, because there's some complex mechanics in there. With Rooted Nightmares with Ron, it just, to me, it seems like it's literally as simple as it is because that LFG is coming. And they want the LFG to debut with the simplest possible raid, right? Like, the LFG comes now. The newest pinnacle activity is Root of Nightmares, a raid that's really pretty easy to get and understand. You can hop into game chat, And you can go, hey, this kind of this like weird glowing thing is pointing me in this direction when I shoot it. Oh, and I have a buff. Oh, and like if I go over there and shoot this with this buff, this one lights up. Oh, okay, I get it, right? Because that's basically the mechanic of the entire raid.
It's literally follow the line.
It's follow the line, right?
It's follow the line.
And I think that's why they made it. Like now that I'm thinking about that, the fact that they said, I think they said next season, right, is going to be when LFG comes out. So
I don't know. They've delayed it. It wouldn't surprise me if they delay it again.
So, well, if it is next season, right, Root of Nightmares is still going to be the pinnacle raid, which makes sense then that they made it, you know, the most simple overall mechanically, so
and
that you can jump in.
And I get that. When the moment I saw how easy the raid was, I'm like, this is why they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's meant to be able to bring, because again, they've probably seen the numbers go up. They see nothing but numbers go up essentially, right? They don't. You know, most of the people working on Destiny are not going to look at social media and people complaining and everything like that. They're going to be like, oh, the numbers are up across the board for the DLC, for the campaign, and now for the raid. They're going to look at that all positive.
Oh yeah,
right? Or
absolutely.
At least the business side of people.
Yeah,
are, right?
absolutely. Because now, 45,000 teams worth of people can buy $150 jackets.
Something like that,
right?
Exactly, right? That's all money right there.
That cost them like $50 to make. So,
right.
Yeah, like if you think that seeing this, they're gonna go, maybe we should make this ultra hardcore and make it so only 2 groups of people can do it. They're not.
They're never gonna do that. They've already stated. But I still think a good middle ground was something like VOW, right? Because VOW had the 48 hours, regardless of the unfortunate, terrible server stuff that they've always had to do.
Yes,
like that.
And that was
like
a happy accident.
7,000, I think 7,000, 8,000 teams, I think, cleared it or something like that, which is cool. Again, I've stated here in this video multiple times that I think the 48 hours is an amazing change.
To be fair, I cleared VOW twice. So
right, exactly.
You know, like on contest, and that was rough. But it was
rough. Yeah, I mean, dude, that third encounter itself was that thing on contest mode.
Knowing though, I really did like, because you mentioned this earlier, the 48-hour thing. Like that's what got me to do this day one, right? Because I'm old. Like Talon's like, oh, we're in our 30s. No, I'm in my late 30s. And Talon in 5 or 6 years, you will understand the difference that 5 or 6 years makes, right? I'm coming up in a few years on 40, and I've been playing this since I was in my late 20s, right? Playing Destiny as a franchise. Right. It's day ones are stressful, and having that 48 hours was such a huge thing. And I really hope they continue that just for the general health of everybody. Because if they do make one like VOW, right? VOW was, it's like you said, VOW was much more challenging, especially with like Caretaker. You know, the biggest thing.
Oh, the damage output that, a lot of teams can do.
That took us on the contest, that took us like 4 hours, right? To get the damage. Because a lot of it was like luck on heavy drops and stuff. That's one of the things I think that a lot of people are discounting right now, is that we have a lot more deterministic ways to get heavy in this raid and did on contest, right? It's like, oh, if you're using a void weapon and you kill anything with an orange bar, there's a really good chance, like an 80% chance you're gonna get heavy. So
dude, heavy was dropping so easy.
Yeah, plus they changed heavy ammo finder to work as finder and scavenger at the same time.
That's a huge change.
So that's one of those things that I think people are like discounting and not really taking into account. It's like the systems changes and the artifact mods contributed to like, oh, well, it's so easy, but it's only so easy because like, yeah, there was.
I'd laugh so hard if the sandbox team came up to the raid team was just like, you gave them what artifacts?
Yeah, exactly. Right. But like, look at it this way, like Caretaker, we had no orange bar, so we couldn't use heavy finisher or special finisher. Right. It
was all luck of the draw.
Well, it was luck of the draw, and it was like, okay, even if you have good luck at the end, everybody have a max level outbreak to pull out at that last floor, right? Like
you better have outbreaking those nanos just going.
And I don't know anyone who did the day one personally. I don't know anyone who did the day one who did not use outbreak to clear the Caretaker.
Pretty sure everyone did.
Right.
Pretty sure everyone did.
That to me, that is. You know, like I think about like my friends now, if one of them doesn't have outbreak because they just didn't play during that season, you're boom, right? Like you're screwed.
Yeah, you gotta hope that your friends tell you, hey, by the way, go to the exotic thing in the tower and make sure you buy it real quick, because that's how you get Outbreak perfected.
Yeah.
But if they don't have the materials to get that,
Yeah.
then they're kind of screwed and everything.
And then
like that. So again, it's all a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
Because like something like Caretaker, I think was maybe a little too much health on it. I get why they did it at the time when the game was at its point. It's very different from it is now.
Yes.
But again, something like Rolk, I think was very well.
Oh, Rolk was good. The thing
part.
with Rolk is that once, I was working with an LFG team when I got my first clear of Rolk, because like my team, it was a whole thing. They were like, well, we don't have time tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And, we don't know how many hours it's going to take. And so I did it with an LFG team. It took like 2.5 hours. And we finally worked out a strat because we realized, oh, hey, one person can get his aggro and like drag him around. Right.
Right. One person can just distract him and everyone else just stands around.
And so we didn't know that as the LFG. But when we figured that out, we are like, oh, okay, we can actually do this. And we got to, the point where we got almost to last stand. And we were like, we can do this. So we finally did it, and then I contacted like my teammates. Was like, guys, if you have an hour, I promise you we can do this. Like, I promise. And they all hopped in. They're like, okay, what's the thing? And so I explained it to them, like, okay. And so we tried it, and we did. It took like an hour, just RNG, right, with ammo and stuff like that. But again, that was a good challenge, right? Caretaker was a little much, and that's the same thing with Atrax. Atrax, when I did Deep Stone, took 9 or 9.5 hours for my team.
I remember seeing people talk about that and make videos on it. I was like, damn.
And like for Deep Stone, I took the day off of work and stuff, and we were up for 19.5 hours to finish it. Right? That's unhealthy. Yep. It's unhealthy.
Right. Which is again why both you and I have said the 48-hour change is a great thing.
Yes.
It is absolutely it's a great change.
And that's one of the things that like I hope that like Bungie doesn't let like the hardcore like if you want to make a next raid harder, cool. Right?
I don't think they will, because I think aside from some toxic voices in any community, which again any game has, a majority of the quote hard players or the YouTubers or the streamers or anything like that, for the most part, from what I've seen, are in agreement that the 48-hour change is fine, perfectly. It honestly is, right?
And that's
if Bungie's truly got enough pushback that they had to make a change, I'd say okay, fine. If it's 24 hours, you get the same emblem with a 24 on it or something. I don't freaking know.
I do want to.
I don't think 48 hours is going anywhere. I think that's a new norm for them. They're going to keep that going, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
I personally think. But I feel like at this point we're probably just going in circles now. But I think Ron was still a little too easy, and I don't know if it's simply because they wanted it to make it that way. Because the way I looked at it was that this is the second to last new raid we are gonna get, and with the final shape coming up next year. Right?
Yes.
And I know Destiny 2 is going to continue after Final Shape and everything like that, but there's something in the back of my mind that's telling me that a lot of people are going to leave the team because it's the end of the 10-year thing. They want to go do something new.
Yeah,
totally
they might,
by the way, 100%.
Yep.
So the team's going to change dramatically. Sony's probably going to start pulling some people away from Bungie to help with their thing. They're like, hey guys, we paid you $3.6 billion.
Yeah.
We need some help here.
Yep.
So they're going to start pulling people away probably from that. And so I feel that it's going to change. And who knows? I'm personally hoping that we get some kind of Destiny 3 thing, because, goddamn, the combination of the engine and servers and just it needs an update.
The thing that I worry about, and this is the same thing that happened with like Halo, right? Because they talk about Slipstream and Unreal, and everyone's like, just move it to Unreal because it'd be easier. The thing with Halo,
they need to move to something.
Well, the thing with Halo is the same thing as Destiny. The engine is what makes it feel like Destiny, and the Slipstream engine is what makes Halo feel like Halo, right now. And Halo Infinite, yeah, it's got issues. But I logged in to play Season 3 a couple of days ago. I was like, man, this game just feels good. It feels good to play. Like, there's no progression. It's still,
And then what Destiny needs to do is if they don't go to Unreal, that's totally fine. But they need to be making a new engine that's the same as the one that they have, but obviously improving upon it and everything.
Yeah. What they need to get off of is peer-to-peer. Like, that's what needs to go.
Oh God, freaking Bungie, get off your peer-to-peer horse. Like, oh my God. This is 2023.
It's 2023. Like, please,
just get off of it. But yeah. So anyway, so again, going back to my original reason I brought all that up was simply that it's kind of like, again, I know Destiny will continue whether it becomes Destiny 3 or whatever happens, right? But this is kind of like it's the end of Saga.
It is, yeah.
Right. This is the second to last raid, And for it to be this, I'm sorry to use this word, brain dead. Like it kind of is. I'm sorry. It is.
You know, like I'm not disagreeing. Like to me, this is absolutely a W key raid, right? But to me, right, the reason I actually dig this raid is because it reminds me a lot of Wrath of the Machine and Crota, right? Where it's just like
and
you
I
just
know, and
go
I know a lot
through
of people like those raids.
Yeah, and
it's just go forward.
It's basically like there's two types of people. There's the people who like Wrath of the Machine. There's the people who like King's Fall, right? And the Wrath of the Machine people are gonna be like, hey, Root of Nightmares, really fast, really fun, awesome, keeps you going the whole time. Like, let's go.
Right.
And King's Fall is like very deliberate mechanic, and those same people who like King's Fall like Last Wish, right? They're like, that's the pinnacle of creation, and everyone's opinion is different, and that's fine, right? But
exactly.
it does. For me, I actually liked that it was refreshing that, especially after after they brought King's Fall back, which was like, King's Fall is still a slog in my opinion. Like I love it. There's nostalgia. I did that a day one. We didn't clear it.
Yeah,
but
King's Fall is not my favorite.
But man, it's so long. You know, like it's just so long, and it's
Dude,
like
I can beat Vow and then go do a Crucible match and some other stuff before I finish King's Fall.
Yeah, and to me, like I get it. You love it because that's Taken King was the height of Destiny. Blah blah blah. Like, cool.
Right.
But that raid is long, and it just like you do with a solid team. You'll do King's Fall in like an hour and 40 minutes. You know, just because like you got to go through the maze and you got to wait for Golgoroth.
The fastest we beat King's Fall personally with the 5-9 clan was like an hour and 25 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's like you're jetting
everyone
through.
popping off.
Yeah.
That's like everyone popping off essentially.
Yeah, the ship encounter, right? The jumping puzzle, that alone takes like 6 minutes. You know, just to get from one, and that's not even the whole traversal right there. That's just like part of it, right? So it's just stuff like that. And to me, like having a W key raid every once in a while, I love it. And like I said, I get it why hardcore players want something where they want a challenge, but like Bungie themselves basically said, we're not going to do that. Like go play an MMO, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, and they have said that, and I get that. I mean, that's why we freaking don't have matchmaking, unfortunately, and higher difficulty content or like Legends strikes and everything like that, which I'll get into my review. You guys haven't checked it out. Check it out.
But you know what we do have? We do have a clan for you to join.
Exactly. Shameless plugging, man. I love it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So, I don't know. I just hope that whatever the reprised raid is, it's whatever, personally, in my opinion. It's cool to play and everything like that, but it's not a new raid. I really hope the new raid comes back into the middle, right?
Yeah, like Vow.
A Vow, essentially.
And
I know... And Vow was not perfect. I'm not saying Vow was perfect. Every raid has its issues and its problems, like anything in Destiny does. But I think in terms of a mix of mechanics, enemy density, bosses, time to complete, you know, all that stuff, it was a good middle ground, in my personal opinion. And again, and this also kind of, I got into this in my review. It almost just feels like, again, kind of it's almost like still doing the whole Witch Queen versus Lightfall thing. Like, Witch Queen is like, it's up here if I was using hand gestures, and Lightfall, it's like it's all over the place. And in terms of just like story, you know, just the DLC itself, not looking at the mechanics and things have changed and everything like that.
Yeah,
that's weird. My personal hope for my personal hope for Final Shape is that if they bring it back to the middle, right? Maybe, you know, they obviously have some raids that have gone way too far to the right.
Sure.
They have some raids that have gone too far to the left. Bring it back to the middle. Keep the 48 hours going, which is an awesome change. Have contest mode be a challenge. We're adults. We can handle a little challenge, Bungie.
No more Last Wish, please. Like, no more every encounter is like 20 minutes and has a different mechanic that you have to learn. And like, oh, that was so painful.
I do find it funny total side note, I do find it funny for people who say like they love Last Wish, but they hate Vow. Yet Last Wish has just as many like call out symbols as Vow, probably even more.
The thing to me that Vow has, that Last Wish, like I just said, it feels like it has different mechanics for like every encounter, right? Which Root of Nightmares does in the third encounter of Root of Nightmares. That is drastically different. That feels like it's almost from a different.
And that's why it's my favorite, actually. I love the planet thing, aside from some glitchy things that happen. But regardless, I love the planet.
Yeah, and that's awesome. But like Vow is consistent, right? There's always like, hey, we got to figure out totem, we got to figure out a symbol, and we got to figure out where those two things connect, and that's what makes Vow, like, it's like you said, Vow is a perfect middle of the road, because it's not like Root of Nightmares, where Root of Nightmares has one mechanic, right? The mechanics in Vow change a little bit. Like in the Caretaker, you have to go into the dark room and fight your way through the maze, and then get out with it, and then do it really quickly, and then have the other person go in. Versus the first one, everyone goes into their rooms, and then has to come out while someone defends, right? So the totems don't get blown up. And so, like, there's a consistent mechanic, but it's utilized a little bit differently versus Last Wish, where it's like everything is radically different and it feels really awkward.
And again, Last Wish is on one side in terms of the raid itself. And we're not even talking about, you know, story and how it looks and everything.
Yeah.
Like, Last Wish is on one side. In my opinion, Ron's on the other side. Come back to the middle, Bungie, is all I'm asking, essentially. Again, it's okay to have some challenge for the first 48 hours, because after the 48 hours, guess what? Everyone's going to be able to beat it. Everyone's going to be able to start cheesing things, you know. Oh, hey, you know, some short shows up on YouTube or TikTok that's like, hey, want to defeat the final boss in the last, you know, the final stand or the final shape raid boss. Oh yeah, just do this and you're done, essentially, right? It happens all the time.
Yeah,
100% get that. So again, Bobby and I have different opinions on terms of some difficulty stuff and is this good, is this bad type of thing. But regardless, just, you know, we want what's best for the game. We want what's best for it, and I think that's why we both been able to come here today though and be like, look, that was a good middle spot. You know, let's get back to that. You know, have some challenge, not too crazy difficult, but you know, it's right there.
Yeah,
my personal opinion. So, all right, guys. So I think we've rambled on enough here. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think, first off, have you been able to try out Ron or the root raid, whatever you want to call it? Have you been able to try it out? What are your personal thoughts on it? Did you do a day one completion? Have you completed it personally, or do you think it's too easy? Do you think it's just right? It's fun? All that stuff. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Keep things civil though. And any final words, Bobby, before we head out?
Come hang out with us in the clan if you play Destiny and you see this video and you don't have a clan.
Yeah, definitely. Again, just search 59 Gaming on the on Bungie's website. Send us send a request and say, just tag us in this video if you want to. Be like, hey guys, I applied.
Yeah,
can I join?
We can
like,
let you in.
Sure. And then we'll give you access to the Discord server, and you can start meeting new friends and everything like that.
There's some awesome people in there that aren't you know, again, me and Talon, we're awesome, but in the Discord, there's some really awesome people in there, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, aside from, unless things get super busy, like I raid pretty much every week with different people. Bobby raids with different people. We do dungeons, strikes, you name it. So anyway, I think that's enough shameless plugging right there. So again, let us know your thoughts down below in the comments as always, guys. And if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure you sub to the channel and leave a like. It greatly helps the channel as always. And until next time, everyone, we'll see you in the next one. Johnny.